3 years ago, I played around with these neon colored jelly rolls that glowed in the dark with UV light. Let me show you. They came with this little light. You can't really see the effect. Let me turn off the lights. Okay, so the light they include is pretty dang small, which is why I bought these. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, oh my goodness, look at that. This is way cooler than the little light I had before. Everything is looking very bizarre in this light. My little cactus is glowing. This Sketch Scout stand my friend made. Thanks, Dark. My paintbrush, imagine painting in black lights like this. It's so interesting seeing my swatch sheet for my gouache. Makes me think about painting. Oh my gosh, should I do more with these black lights? Okay, I gotta focus. Today's video is about the new Sakura UV Jelly Roll ink pens, except these actually dry clear. That's right. These, oh, I was gonna focus, but it's so dark. It's so dark in here you can't see. Maybe I should turn my lights back on. I can't see anything. I'm curious to see how these pens work on different colors of paper. So we have white, brown, and black paper. How do they look? Do they look invisible on every color of paper? Let's do some swatching with the lights on, and then we're gonna turn them off and see if we can actually tell, oh gosh, where the ink is. It'll probably be kind of hard to tell what I'm doing with both lights on because I think the effects are competing with being both clear and glowing in the dark. But I do want to see where I'm drawing, and I do want the camera to be able to pick up what I'm doing in the dark. I just use the same colors over and over. That's okay. I'm actually getting kind of confused as to which colors I've used because I can't entirely see. What am I doing? This is definitely the oddest swatching I've ever done because I can't really tell what I'm doing. This is going to be very interesting to doodle with because I cannot see really what I'm doing. I did some doodles. Let's turn off my lights again and see what we're working with here. I think the white paper is having just a little bit too much trouble maybe competing with the lightness of the colors. I think maybe with the black paper, it's a very dark paper, so maybe, I don't know, maybe the ink is just having a hard time competing, and something about the middle ground of the brown paper is actually working the best. It's a really interesting concept. I feel like in what situation am I going to find myself using a black light? I don't know if a black light is something I will have on in my house to enjoy art. However, I think it would be fun to maybe create art that has a secret black light effect. I really wish you could see what I was seeing. It's so much more clear in person than it is on camera. Would you see it if I put a more solid block of color, I wonder? Yeah, definitely see it a lot better. So I'll have to keep that in mind when creating something. Okay, black light's off. Let's see how transparent this ink is. Okay, that's pretty transparent. You can definitely tell where I put some heavy blocks of color on the brown specifically, but it is pretty clear. Okay, what are we making? I don't know, but here we go. So going into these pieces, I was thinking about how I wanted to create a piece of artwork that didn't necessarily depend on the effect of the UV light, because like I mentioned, when am I ever going to have a UV light just vibing in my room? I thought it would be cute to have these little Easter eggs where if you wanted to shine a light and show somebody or just have a little secret, that's what I was going to use these effects for. And I thought it would be cute to focus one color on each piece, so we're starting off with the blue pen. And my first thought was someone hiding their emotions, which seems kind of sad. So I drew this girl with a smile on her face, looking happy, content. Because the focus of these illustrations was going to be the UV light pen effect, I didn't want to put too many details into these pieces. Keep them simple, let the UV light speak for themselves. Of course, this is something I always say. My art is simple, so it's like, Kasey, what details would you have been adding otherwise? The answer is none. I was about to say I colored each shirt the same color as the pen, and then I thought actually it would have been really cute to just color their shirt with the pen, and they could have looked like they had a white shirt on, but wow, they actually have a glowing UV shirt on. Instead, I went with some spooky, scary effects, or in this case, sad. So when it came to actually using the UV pen, I discovered that these pens don't do so well over things that aren't just paper. I was so busy just testing them on the actual paper themselves, I didn't think about how they were going to overlap on other art materials, so unfortunately, they don't do so hot over watercolor. I don't know how pens work. I thought maybe the more I built up and layered on top, they would get a nice massive ink, but it kind of just seemed like the watercolor resisted the ink. You can see a little bit is there, but I guess it's very similar in the way that each color of paper affected the pens. It looked fantastic on the white paper. Look at it, it's perfect. But where it did overlap with the character, especially the black pen, it really didn't do its best. So in the future, if I do use these pens, I will definitely be thinking about using them, like I said, maybe to just fill in a shirt or something. Either way, I think this girl turned out really cool. Does she look a little inappropriate? Yes, but those are supposed to be tears. Ghostly tears. Nothing else, perverts. Our second piece, unfortunately, I did go ahead and ink and color these before I found out that the UV pens didn't work so well over watercolor and ink. However, I think knowing that now, I would not have changed these pieces any, because like I said, these are supposed to be pieces that, well, for the most part, look like the character is just sort of vibing there with nothing happening. And then when you whip out your UV light, you see a secret of like a ghost or tears or something. So this character looks like he is maybe loudly singing a song or biting an invisible cheeseburger. He's going to have a secret soon. It kind of looks like he's also doing something inappropriate. I have a tendency in my art to try to draw something innocent, and there's just always some sort of inappropriate suggestion there. That's just my own personal art curse. I live with it. It's fine. Also, if you've noticed so far with all of their hair, I've been really focusing on just ink hair. I find it really fun, especially when it comes to more creepy illustrations. Maybe it's just a super typical style you see, like, I don't know, Tim Burton or something. Sketchy, textured lines with ink seem to be a common with horror things. Like I said, I wanted the focus to be on our UV pens. So for this piece, our character is ejecting a strange ghostly thing from his mouth. I don't know how to describe it other than that. He is exorcising a spirit out of his mouth. I don't think it was consensual. He looks very shocked and surprised that this is happening, and in his eyes, he probably can't even see what's happening. He sees what we see. Nothing. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe this ghostly specter is going into his mouth and down his throat and choking on some invisible force. Either way, it's horrifying, and I wouldn't want to be in this position, so sorry, bud. Our first character, she looked completely normal. Our second character was suggesting something was happening. And for our third and final character, there are some spooky happenings happening. Spooky happenings happening? I wanted to show a ghost or something interacting with her somehow, so I have it holding up her hair. And as I sketched it, eventually I decided that maybe she just cut her hair, or maybe the ghost cut her hair, and it is holding up her hair in the air and she's looking at it. But from our perspective and her perspective, it is just floating there. So when we use our UV pens, these spooky specters will be revealed. When it came to the painting of this piece, I realized so much time and effort went into actually texturizing her hair, and the actual painting and coloring was so much shorter than the other characters. I don't know why. They all have the same... Oh my god, sorry. I was looking at the piece in person, and I just realized that there is a ghosting of the pen over the watercolor that is starting to show. And hers is the only piece that does that, so maybe it has something to do with that orangish reddish pen. Which I was also going to mention, the orangish reddish pen was the juiciest, best looking UV pen. Maybe that has something to do with it transferring and being visible later on. I was also very curious how these pens would be over over time? How do they last? Are they light fast? Do certain elements affect them? This is probably a good time to also mention that these pens were smudging the watercolor a little bit because watercolor is reactivated with wetness. The juiciness of these pens did make the watercolor smudge a little bit, so that's just something you need to consider. At the end of the day, I think these are just a fun, silly art supplies to play around with and not something that I would use for serious art, I suppose. Which is good to know if you are looking into buying something like this, so there you have it. Oh, I didn't mention the ghosts. I drew some hands tormenting her, so yeah, spooky hands. And here is the ghosting of the pen. Haha, ghosting that I mentioned earlier. So much for watching our last video of 2023, and an even bigger thank you to my patrons for all their support. You guys are the best. If you want early access to these videos, secret sketches, live streams, and more, check out the link to my Patreon in the description, and I'll see you guys next year. Bye!